Hey guys, Joshua Laycock here, Lifestyle Evolution. I would like to talk about patience. How important patience is. I think a lot of us kind of joke about how impatient we are and I even find myself saying, "Oh, I'm a super impatient kind of guy," but the truth is I'm not. I'm actually really, really patient, I think, when it counts. And there's an important distinction between being patient and bearing idle time. And while I think that both are important, I think that we should only have so much idle time. I mean, it's important that we be able to be comfortable for a quiet moment, that we can stand in the line at a grocery store, the coffee shop, and not need to be entertained by our phone, and that we can sit in silence. But what I'm talking about is more a macro level patience. And so I've mentioned this, that my company is going through an acquisition. We've been purchased and it's fantastic, truly. But it's taking a while. I mean, it's when two gigantic companies come together, things take some time. And what's really interesting, and I really don't mean this as a criticism, but I am noticing that a lot of the people in my office are really struggling with this concept of patience, of letting the process move forward. We don't have any control over the process of things like, where are we going to be located? What is our new job title going to be? Who is our new manager going to be? These are things that we don't really have any influence over at this stage. And obsessing over the things that we don't have control over is driving, I think, a lot of people crazy. And unfortunately, it's kind of creating this tension where people are wrapping the change and the unknown with this negativity. And there is no negativity. Nothing's different. It's just that I think people are feeling negative about the transition and about having to wait. And every time that we think something's happening tomorrow and it doesn't, and it's the next day, everyone's kind of going crazy. And I get it. Like, trust me, I'm looking forward to getting the information and creating as much certainty as I can. And I understand that. But I also have tried really hard to not get sucked into the impatience of it all. And that's really what it is. And what I think of is so many things in life that we struggle with, that we get frustrated with, that we get angry at. Really, in many situations, certainly not all, but in many situations, we get upset because things aren't happening as quickly as we'd like, or on the same schedule as we would like. I mean, I'll tell you, this morning, I got really frustrated with my son because he just couldn't get his butt out of bed. And it really kind of put the morning, started the morning off on a bit of a negative tone, because I was angry with him because he just keeps kind of, as soon as I leave his room, he rolls back under the covers and tucks in. And I think maybe part of him thinks it's funny, but he doesn't realize how it derails the morning when we're trying to get all the kids ready and out the door and everything like that. But as I dropped the kids off at school and they were their usual awesome self, I realized that, look, you were angry because you were being impatient. You were upset because, you weren't even running late. You were just impatient. Things weren't happening as fast as you wanted them to. And surprise, surprise, you can't control how a 5-year-old will move in the morning. So, life kind of runs at its own rhythm. And I think it was Andy Frisella, I don't really know, who talks about some version of aggressive patience, or even Gary Vee talks about this concept of being aggressively patient. In other words, the point is, patience doesn't mean doing nothing, right? Patience doesn't mean sitting there and twiddling your thumbs and waiting for life to happen. But patience does mean that you need to recognize that things take time, that things are going to happen at their own pace. And while in some aspects of our lives we can influence that pace, for the most part, life doesn't really give a shit about your agenda. and you need to just chill. And the ability to introduce patience, I think, is a skill that many of us should work on. As I said, it's something that I'm a lot better at. And most times that I get frustrated or lose my cool or am flustered by something, it's because I am demonstrating a lack of patience. I mean, it's the dumb stuff too, right? It's the person who rolls into the coffee drive-thru and decides to order every single thing off the menu. So instead of saying, "Can I have a coffee?" they're there for 10 minutes making this complex order. And inside me, I'm going, why don't you just go inside and not waste everyone else's time? But then you got to breathe and remind you, you're just being impatient, you know? Or the person, I mean, I talk a lot about coffee shops, one, because I'm Canadian and I spend a lot of time in coffee shops, but I think it's such a cool analogy in that it's such an important part of our life, it's such a major part of our life, but it's also largely irrelevant. And if you like to people watch like I do, you can see all of these little weird elements of humanity play out inside the coffee shop. So I just think it's a fantastic place for video fodder and for just watching human beings interact oddly. But most times when people are getting frustrated about something, it's an impatience. It's the person who's trying to order who doesn't speak English and is trying to make sense of the complicated order. You know, that's impatience. You can call it whatever you want, but I think if you boil it right down, you're not being patient. If you're frustrated with your spouse because of something, whether it's the way that they clean or the way they put things or the way that they're talking to themselves, talking to you, or the way that they're whatever. I mean, the truth is, like, if your spouse, if my wife is having a shitty day and I'm trying to talk to her and she's not being very responsive because she's not had a good day, aside from the fact that I'm not being a very receptive husband to be there for her needs, the other part of that is that you're being impatient. You want to get to your part, right? You want to get to your side of things. And, you know, I'm doing a deep dive right now on effective communication and courageous communication and all those things. And really what a lot of it boils down to, the trigger for a lot of our faults is this component. So, you know, I would encourage you to do an analysis of your life and find out, when are you most flustered? When are you most derailed? When are you unhappy? And how much of that is a byproduct of, on some level, a significant amount of impatience? And practice, I mean, literally practice taking your time, practice sitting quietly, practice interacting with a toddler and waiting for 17 minutes for them to get the sentence out that they're trying to get out. That really just means that they want to watch a certain movie or that they like ice cream. And I had like a 25-minute conversation with my daughter that went in circles, and in conclusion, ice cream is good. I was like going out of my mind during this conversation, but I was able to stay calm and go, this is process for her. This is helpful for her. You're just being impatient. So I would really encourage you to look back at this, and I think that if you were to develop some key competencies and some key virtues that will allow you to operate and interact with the world around you in a much more open and calm and inviting way, patience is where to go. And as I sit in traffic, I will breathe and I will relax and I will practice being bored because that's really all patience is just being okay with being bored, being empathetic to whatever's causing you to have to wait and to pause. So enjoy your day, be patient, take a breath, and I'll see you tomorrow.